Okay, so here we are. We're live. We are recording. And for everybody who's coming to watch, thank you for being here. I was just telling Calli before we got on that things are kind of crazy and nuts. Like Kyle and I just got back from a trip, and it already feels like we were gone for 3 days, and I'm behind by 4 weeks. And I'm just like, there's so many things to do and there's no time, but everything's fine. So Calli and I are here to hang out today, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear about the year that Calli has had. When's your anniversary?
Of my business in
It's this month,
August.
Right? August?
I think I got my business license in July and then officially opened in August. So
cool.
That's on as my anniversary.
Yeah, whatever you want. I think mine is the day I got my LLC approved.
I like that.
Whatever you want. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, before we jump into all of that, let's go ahead and introduce everybody here. So, welcome to the Therapy Entrepreneurs series that I'm doing. This live stream and podcast and YouTube video series has had many names over the past couple of years, but essentially I have been bringing on people who have their own cash practice businesses, whatever aspect of therapy that you're practicing in. And this season we are bringing on people that I have worked with personally, and I've seen grow from the start. And so I am really excited to share with you guys tonight Miss Calli, who is an amazing person, an OT in Ohio, and just hear about the 1 year that you've been in business, not even officially yet, and all the things that have happened. So thank you so much for being here and for your patience with this.
Thank you for having me. I am so happy to be here, even with all of this.
There's stuff going on.
I got a lot of this going on too.
So. Don't we all? I was gonna post something, and I don't know if you can help me with this. I feel like overall your boundaries are better than mine. But I was gonna post something today and in the group and just be like, okay, everyone here who owns a business and has a clean house, please tell me how.
I'm hiring that out as soon as I can.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's just everywhere I look, it's something else to work on.
It's my next investment into myself.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What a segue, Calli.
I know.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Once again, thank you so much. You guys that are here live, feel free to ask questions, share comments as we are chit-chatting tonight. And anybody watching on the replay, please do the same. And either myself or Calli will get back to you. And before we get into that segue, tonight we are going to be talking about, surprise, drumroll, investing in yourself, whatever that might look like, whether, it's investing your money or your time, whatever it is, or your energy, with Miss Calli, the amazing. But before we get into that, Calli, if you don't mind sharing with everybody a little bit more about you and your background and kind of what led you to be here, that'd be a great place to start.
So, my name's Calli. I am from Ohio, but I've lived other places. We've been back for almost a year and a half. And I also went to school in Ohio for undergrad and grad school. My first job was in South Carolina doing home health in early intervention, which I really liked. I liked being in the home, but I didn't like the fact that I didn't have a mentor. It wasn't a great, I don't think, first job right out of school, but I definitely learned a lot. And then I went to Virginia and worked for a private practice, which was owned by a therapist and her husband. So that was really cool to see how they ran things. And I really enjoyed the organization in itself. I enjoyed the people I worked with. I enjoyed the mentorship I got, and just really learned a lot. And that kind of like got my brain rolling as far as like, ooh, maybe one day I could like own my own practice someday. I don't know. But I feel like that's where like that seed got planted. And then we moved, and I had a daughter in the middle of all of that, and just wanted to take my time. I knew that I didn't want to work in a really busy outpatient clinic where you have really high caseload. I don't think that was very sustainable for me in my life. Although I did love where I worked, I don't think it was like, I would have burnt out really quickly, I think, if I stayed for years and years and years. So I really started to think about like what was valuable to me, what I really wanted out of a job, and was starting to be picky about it. And it took me a few months to kind of settle on a little part-time job that was close, but it wasn't what I wanted. And I also found that like in my community, there wasn't really a whole lot of pediatric OTs doing home health. And so that's when I was like, all right, I'm just going to do it. And now's a perfect time. I was working very, very PRN, and I had a very supportive husband, which was definitely key in this whole process. So
Yeah.
without him, this would not exist. So yeah, it was just nice to have that support system behind me, and help me to just like take that leap of faith. So that's where I am.
Yeah. And here we are almost a year later. And oh my gosh. If you could, usually I save this question till the end, but you know, since we're talking about your story, if you could like look back and talk to Calli like even a year ago, what would you tell her? Like whether it's advice or just kind of like younger Calli, like look how cool we are. Like
Definitely that.
Yes.
You're way cooler than what you think now. No, I would say start sooner. Stop like procrastinating. Just go for it. Like I said, take that leap of faith. And yeah, there was another thing. Now it just left my mind because I was laughing. Yeah, I would just say start sooner, and just start investing in yourself right away.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't think I had the impression that I could read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, join all the groups, and know what I'm doing and be successful. And I would tell myself that like you can't do it on your own.
Yeah. And I guess like, you know, because I know like our relationship together started at some point last year, like early summer. Like I remember like talking a little bit, you know, and like you were getting started, and then we like touched base again later on. Like what do you think was the point for you? And we probably talked about it, but I can't remember. What do you think was like the point for you where you were like, I really need help?
When I went almost 2 months of doing it on my own and had no patience. When I knew there was a need out there, like I knew there was a need. I knew I like was doing the right thing. Like I never had any doubt that like it would fail, but I was like, can work, it will work.
Yeah.
I just got to find the way.
Yeah.
Enter Morgan.
Hi. Yes, and now here we are. And maybe just like for, oh my God, I almost knocked my water bottle over. For anybody who doesn't know you, can you tell us a little bit more about like what specifically your practice does and kind of like how you work with people? We can dive a little bit more into the investing piece.
Yeah, so I go to kids' homes, and my big thing was like I want to be in their environment. I want what we're working on to be very functional, very practical for them. So like I said, we go in the homes, or I see them out in the community, which can also be another really fun skill to work on. And I really emphasize home carryover, home programming, really educate the family right away. It's a very family-centered approach. And I like to see them for 3 to 4 months and then kind of reevaluate where we're at, look at our goals again. Because in the clinic, we only do that once a year. And I feel like there was times where I was like, all right, this is like getting repetitive. We're not really meeting this goal. Why aren't we meeting this goal? So really just like talking to parents throughout the whole thing, the whole process, reevaluating, and then seeing if we need to do another plan of care and see if we need to change things up. And yeah, just kind of go from there. I also do little like 10-week programs, whether it be for handwriting or for life skills stuff. So I have one kid in my 10-week handwriting program. And then I also am running a summer camp. So lots of things.
Yeah, lots of different ways that you can work with people. And maybe that's something we can kind of dive into a little bit as well. And do a little bit of brainstorming for you while we're here and just kind of kill two birds with one stone. But I know that we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but just giving like a little bit of context, because at least like the people that I've worked with, you know, and like you and I talked about it, I don't work with a lot of therapists that do peds, you know, or like peds mobile therapy. So for anybody who is listening, you know, like Calli, I think you're one of like 3 or 4 therapists that I've worked with, you know, who like does work with that that population. So, you know, definitely like your whole experience with everything, I think is just like really helpful to put out there. Okay, so backing up a second, enter Morgan into Calli's life. So I guess maybe so your story, you open your business, everything was going to be great because you are a smart cookie, you know what you're doing, you read all the things, you listened to all the stuff, you know, but 2 months in, you hadn't had any patients yet. And so like you went looking for some kind of help. And I guess like I'm curious, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but what led you to like look into working with a coach versus doing like a course, you know, or like the type of help?
Yeah, so I was in all those Facebook groups, and I had like asked some question, and someone was like, "You should look at Morgan. She's really cool." And I had looked at one other coach type thing, and I was like, it seems like cookie cutter a little bit, and wasn't like super personable. And so I joined your group, and then just started like looking through things, reading through things. And then once we started talking, I felt like we jived, we got along really well. It's a good fit. And I just felt like I needed that, like, one, that personal touch, and two, like, just not a blueprint, but like someone to tell me what exactly I need to do. Because I was like having all this free time, like, what can I do for my business? And I was just like sitting there, like, it's obviously not working. Something needs to change. And it was a long thought out ordeal with my husband and I, and just like, what do we do? Do we invest in this or do we not? And in the grand scheme of things, I mean, I just felt like if I don't give it my all, I would completely regret it. And if it failed because I just didn't try harder or try my best, like, I couldn't live with that. So I felt like getting coaching from you, if it felt right and if it felt like a good fit and I felt like I would be successful with it and it would be a good investment, then why wouldn't I go for it? So
yeah, makes sense to me. I'm sold. You know, like, no, like seriously getting into it, like, it can be, so backing like way up, like I was gonna say, like, it can be a scary thing, you know, to invest in coaching, you know, and maybe it's a coaching program, or, you know, maybe it is a like course that takes you through things, but even like online courses can be a good chunk of change. And it's so interesting to me, like, how hesitant we can be. And I'm not saying this was you, it's been me in the past, like, where it's just like, oh wow, that is that a comma? Wow.
How many zeros? Okay.
You know, like, we get so hesitant and we're like, will this be worth it? You know, not really sure. And of course, like, there's no exactly telling. Like, you go based on like what the vibe is. And I think that's such an important point to bring up. It's really something that I've started looking for, like, a vibe check with anybody that I work with, like whether, it's business coaching clients like you, like the therapists that are here, or marketing clients, or even patients too, so for everybody here who is doing therapy only, vibe check is so important. You want to make sure that that's there, but like you go on the vibe check, you go on what other people have said, you go on your gut, and all the reading and learning and everything that you've done, and it feels like a jump, a leap of faith to invest in yourself in this way, and also like invest in the other person you're working with. And I think it's so interesting because like the pricing of different coaching programs is so drastically different than how much it costs to get our degrees, which is also a leap of faith.
Very true.
So, but I feel like you shared a lot about, just kind of like going back and forth with yourself and with your husband about, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And like ultimately came to the point of, like, I have to give it my all. Like I have to try because things are just like they're not moving quick enough, so you wanted to be able to speed up time essentially, to get to where you want to go. And I guess like I'm curious too, like the first coaching program that I invested in besides my degree was like the first big investment that I had ever made for myself. And was this your first like thing, or had you like, how comfortable are you with investing before versus now?
I don't think I was super comfortable. Like I'm definitely one that's like, when I go shopping, have like panic attacks. Like I really need to buy this. No, I should buy it. No, I really don't need to buy it. And so I do go back and forth in my head a lot about like any purchase. And even if it's like a selfish purchase, I am more hesitant. Like we purchased a Peloton and I was like freaking out. But it is a good investment because it brings me happiness. And but I didn't invest in any other coaching program prior to this. The only thing I really spent money on my business that was relatively big was someone to do my website, which I still feel like I would do over again 10 out of 10 times. Like I love my website. I think it looks great.
Very pretty.
I could not have done that on my own. And I've gotten so many compliments that like people have invested in me because they like the vibe of my website and they feel like we would have gotten like, along. And I was like, all right. So like that is like portrayed really well on my website of like who I am and what I do. And that's not a skill that like I am good at. And I know that. And so why would I build a website when I'm not good at it?
That is a good point.
And same thing with like business stuff. Like we didn't learn any of this in school. I'm not really like, I mean, I can make my way with tech stuff, but like I've learned so much from you that just made my life way easier that I would have never known in like 20 years of how to do this
online. What are like, I'm curious, like what are like a couple of examples? I feel like I could come up with some, but like what are the first like couple that come to mind, like tech stuff wise?
I think like the automation stuff, automating the Facebook ad and doing active campaign, and doing like a CRM, like keeping track of who I've talked to, where people are at in the process. And like that has just made my life so much easier. Especially with how busy I've gotten, like just keeping track of things and like being able to like send myself reminders through my CRM that like, oh, this like re-eval is going to be due soon. And it's just like, I am a very forgetful person, so very helpful.
It really is. And I feel like you're one of the only people, I've told you this before for sure, but like, God bless the CRM. And you're one of like the only people I know who like really appreciates it as much as I do.
I appreciate it.
It's just like, oh my gosh, like I can help out like future Morgan, future Calli so much because I can like put like everything that I need in 2 weeks in here right now. I don't have to worry about it. And it's amazing. And like you said, you can automate everything too. So yeah, 100%. Like there's so much tech out there that we can use to help ourselves. And I think like that's also just like one tiny point that I want to make as a software nerd. Love a good software. Like there are lots of ways to do things and lots of different programs out there. And maybe something that I wish I would have done a little differently, maybe. I don't know. But I also wouldn't know what I know now if I hadn't made these mistakes. My suggestion to anybody like starting out is use software, get digital as soon as you can, but try to do it as simple and as cheap as possible, free if possible at the beginning, and figure out what you feel like you really need in order to be the most like organized and streamlined. And then you can invest in like bigger and better software as you go. Rather than like buying into a lot of like really heavy duty software at the beginning, especially if you're still kind of like learning your way around the different options and everything.
No, for sure. I would agree.
So, yeah, well, cool. So coaching, definitely a big investment. And like, of course, like pricing can range, and there's just a lot of different options out there. And I think like overall, like my best advice for somebody investing in any kind of coaching program would be, talk to the person. The vibe check thing is really important. And, like understand if you want somebody who's like very involved, like myself, or, if you're okay with a little bit like less touches, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the big one. And also looking for somebody who's done it before, of course, is often like really popular advice, but that's definitely really helpful. Do you have any other like specific advice on like investing in a coaching program or a course specifically?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the vibe check. Like I feel like if you're going to be with a coach that you're going to be speaking with a lot, it's going to be a long-term thing, just to make sure that relationship can, like, you guys get along. You're able to communicate openly with that person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would be a big one. And just, I don't know if like I ever like really dug into like a ton of reviews, maybe like watched like one or two, and I feel like that had an impact. But I also just felt like we talked for a good length of time and like built this like relationship prior to even like investing. And I feel like I carry that too with my patients, where like I invest in that relationship before I'm even like, hey, you want me to be your OT?
Yeah.
And I like have one kid where I had they reached out to me for maybe like 5 months prior to us actually like, starting to.
Yeah.
And so it's just building that relationship and I don't know, taking the time to feel like if it would work or not. But yeah, just making sure the program is a good fit for you by asking all the questions and filling it out as much as you can before really investing. But I do feel like once you find the right fit, to just go for it, not hesitate.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. In like a couple of ways. I mean, like if you're able to make decisions and go for it, being decisive, I think is also like, I don't want to say better, but being decisive is a really important skill as an entrepreneur, more so than being right. Like you're either like, whatever you decide, it's either going to work out or you're going to learn something. But if you stay like in between, you're not going to go anywhere. So I really like that you brought that up. And then like the other thing I was just going to throw out there, because this is something that I do, if like the money piece is the thing that's holding you back, don't be afraid to ask whoever you want to work with if they offer different like payment plans, that kind of a thing. Like some people will, some people won't, and that's okay, but it's always worth asking. And like I think it's like an important thing. Like I do that with PT patients too, just to be able to help people. But another good segue by Calli into investing your time and energy, not just money, and like moving on from investing in coaching programs for your business, investing in people that might potentially work with you. And that is something that I think, and I'd love to hear your perspective and how it might have changed over the past year. But I think like since I started my business, I've had to learn how to do that, because when you're first getting started, at least for me, I want so badly for people to just be like, book me and just like get started. But like in reality, especially meeting people online,
Yeah.
like, ugh, that's kind of weird. But you really need to like develop good rapport and a sense of trust with a person before you can expect to have them, like invest in your therapy, your services. Even if you meet them in person too, of course, like a lot of us do. I've seen it twice now working at different gyms where I have had to work out there for 6 months before people in the gym felt comfortable enough to come up to me and ask for help. And, like I wasn't doing it with the intention necessarily of gaining patients, but
Yeah.
because I was just there and talking to people, I was able to build a regular like friend relationship with them, or at least like acquaintance, classmate relationship, before they felt comfortable enough to see me.
Yeah.
And we have to remember as well that like this is a different way of doing healthcare than a lot of people are used to as well. And so there is kind of some like a learning curve with that. But now, kind of like fast forward to now, and of course, like Callie and I have gotten busier, so that makes it a little bit easier to not like worry so much about somebody like booking with you right now. But whenever somebody tells me no, or like quote unquote like leaves me on red, whether literally or figuratively, in person, I just like I talk to myself, and instead of getting like mad or upset, I give myself like 2 seconds to be bummed, and then I continue to treat that person how I would want to be treated, and like almost like go above and beyond being really kind to this person, because like they needed help, and for some reason they're not pursuing it. And so just continuing to like create an environment that's like supportive, I guess, and welcoming. It makes me feel good for one, but also just like it helps them as a person, whether they work with you or not.
Yeah.
So that was a long story. Callie, go.
No, I really like that though, and I feel like that's the whole reason. Like maybe we even like I can speak for myself, but like became a therapist is to build relationships with people and to help. And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel like that's another reason why I built my practice. Is I felt like
Yeah.
there's a way to do this better, and there's a way to
Mm-hmm.
get outcomes quicker for kids than just going to a busy clinic where the therapist is seeing 10 other kids a day. And so I just felt like if I could build a relationship with people, which I feel like that is a skill that I would rank as like one of my higher level skills of like just relationship skills,
Mm-hmm.
and doing that first, I feel like I'm more comfortable with that than like talking to them about paying me.
Yeah.
I really had to get over, obviously. So I just felt like that relationship piece and like building this community where I could talk to parents and get to know them so that they could feel comfortable with me working with their child is way more important than trying to just like get a quick patient. And like I said, I think you mentioned it too. Like if they say no, like, okay, why are they not in a place to, like say yes? Can we like dig deeper into that why and figure it out and give them time to get to a place to where they would pay? And so I just feel like that relationship piece and that like using your therapeutic use of self before therapy even starts has always been one of my, I don't know, things I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it's just, especially with like everything that is going on in the world all the time, no matter what your beliefs are on everything, I think the one thing that a lot of us really have in common is the fact that like there's just such a heightened sense of stress
Yeah.
societally. And if you can kind of like help this person, who really like they need help, they know they need help, they've, have made contact with you in
Yeah.
some form or fashion, but they're probably really stressed out about something. If you're able to help them kind of like slow down and figure out what the next best steps are, even if it's not working with you,
Mhm.
you have done your therapeutic duty, and you
Yeah.
can sleep well at night knowing that you're truly doing a service and not just billing more units, maybe.
Or
um,
unethically. I don't know.
that's not just about profit. uh, um but yeah, and I think like the one thing that I wanted to ask you about with that what you just shared, and I remember us talking about this at various points in time, what have you learned, or like what have you changed in the way that you talk to parents about like working with you, then versus now?
I would say I really just give them time to talk, and I feel like once I open that window, parents usually talk a lot. They're seeking out therapy for their kid. Like, there's obviously something going on, and I feel like if you're going to go see like a typical OT, like they don't really have the time to like hear your 30-minute story. Whereas like I want to hear that story and I want to know really what's going on, so that I can help, whether that's like you said, working with me, or like finding you the resources that you need. Because without that story, I don't know really what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like letting go of the pressure of finding a client and like booking with me, and just letting that take a back seat for a little bit in the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
the conversation, and just really focusing on them, first and foremost, and then however the conversation may lead, then I can tell you what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Just like leave it at that.
Yeah. And I like that. And I know like you and I have talked about this too, like one of my gems, so to speak, that I really like to use, especially if I'm feeling super like antsy and anxious about talking to a potential new client.
Yeah.
I will always find a way to work into the conversation and my own dialogue. I will say, like whether we work together or not, something like that, or either that, or even if you don't work with me,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, and like using that specific language, some kind of phrasing like that, it not only I hope takes the pressure off of the person that I'm talking to, but it also just personally it takes so much pressure off of me to try to like make this person a patient. That's the like when I imagine the physical manifestation of like trying to just yeah. uh, um, but instead of like doing that, just saying something like, hey Callie, I'm really excited to talk to you about what you have going on. I hope I can help, and even if we don't end up working together, which is totally fine, there's no pressure for us to work together. I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Like whatever I can do, I'm happy to help. And it's just like, huh, okay. Like, big sigh of relief. So like I think that's really cool, to like kind of like look back and reflect on in both of our experiences. And I think that that's one of the things that I really remember about you and the past year that we've worked together is I think that you've really changed not only like your language but also your expectations in a
Yeah.
lot of your interactions, which is cool because less stress is better.
Yeah, I had no patience and I was stressing, and I was definitely, I don't know, I just didn't have the verbiage or way know which way to like approach these sales calls if I had
Yeah.
one. So just taking it back and like, and I feel like how I do it now is much more comfortable than like how I would previously do it. It's much more relationship based versus salesy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is always good. Because going back to the vibe check, say it with me. We do not work with people who do not meet our vibe check. It will be a regret. But actually, no. Because like we talked about, it's either the right thing or you learn something. So, even if it ends up not working out with your patients, you'll learn something and how to continue to change things for the better. My segue, building relationships. We build relationships with other people, but also ourselves. Calli, how does a new entrepreneur invest their time and energy into themselves, their family, and their own self-care?
Having good boundaries and balance with work. It's always been something that I have emphasized in each job that I have. Not so much in the beginning as I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just like needing to work all the time and figure out what it means to be an OT. And then once I kind of got into like outpatient world and doing more private practice, like, all right, I know for my mental health and for me to be able to be present at work, I need time away and I can't take work home. And so I've always really emphasized that. And now being an entrepreneur, it's a little bit more difficult going away from work when work can be anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
You're always doing something. Like there's always something to do. There's always something to not perfect, but like improve on. And so I've really held on to this boundary that I don't work Friday, Saturday, and sometimes not even on Sunday. And I really just take the time to invest in me and making sure that I'm taken care of so that I can take care of others, whether it be my family or my patients. So I feel like without that time away, I couldn't do this long term. So I've really set those boundaries pretty quick. And then, like I said, investing in like my health. I enjoy working out, and with having a toddler at home, it was really hard to like go to a gym and like do those things. So we got a Peloton together, and we both really enjoy it and use it a lot. So I feel like that was a good investment. And then I also just really invest in like, I have a very big like creative side, and I feel like that's why I was able to like build a business and like be creative with it and like the ways that I run it. And I also feed that creative side like outside of work, and I feel like that's really necessary to just be happy and joyful and live the life that I want to live and have the flexibility to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like at some point as an entrepreneur, you're probably going to lose sight of the fact that you're doing this so that you can have the freedom of your time and like freedom of choice when it comes to what you do with your days. Because when you aren't working a job and your business is your job, you're completely in control of everything you do every single day. Which sometimes can be overwhelming. Just thinking about like, okay, I'm awake at 6 a.m. What do I do today for my business?
Talks about that too. Like there needs to be like a boss Calli. It's like telling Calli to like, get out of bed and go to work.
Yeah. And then like that just reminds me of like, I know whenever I'm feeling like really stressed, my brother will be like, well, just like stop working, and like, oh, I can't, and just like tell your boss to like F off, like just stop. Like, okay, like I'm my boss, I can just stop. But I just like, I think that that's really cool, and like something that I've always really admired about you is, well, boundaries will, I don't think, ever be perfect for anybody. Like you really make it a point, and I think that's amazing. And one question that I have for you on that, like any advice that you might give, Another thing that will come up as an entrepreneur, I think for a lot of people at some point or another, is feeling like they have to say yes to every single opportunity that comes up. So what advice do you have for somebody who feels like they're in that place and they're juggling a zillion things? What advice do you have to them on how to say no?
Say no kindly.
Yeah.
You feel better about it. But yeah, I would just like be completely honest. I don't feel like, at least in my experience, people are honest when they say no. It's usually followed by like a bunch of excuses or a made up story because we're too afraid to say no.
Yeah.
And I just feel like honesty would just make you feel better and make the other person be like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I had plans with a friend and they're like, Calli, it's been a day. I can't. I get it. You know, it's just being honest with people, I feel like, first before saying anything.
Yeah. Like I always go back to the thing too, like whenever I feel like I don't want to say no, like I don't want to be mean or it's awkward.
Like I can take my own advice. I should take my own advice because I do it all the time. And it's not easy.
I know. And I'm just like, you know what? Morgan, think about how mad you get when people leave you on red and just like don't respond, you know, or like you offer something or like, hey, Calli, when do you want to schedule your evaluation? And you just never hear from the person. You know, think about how like annoyed you get with that. And I always find myself saying like, should have just told me no, you know, and then like this would be over because it's closure. And so like anytime that I'm feeling bad about it, like you said, I'll find a way to say like, thank you so much, but no thank you, you know. And then you're good to go because like you can move on, they can move on. And I've also been just practicing saying no without feeling like I need to defend myself because it's totally okay to just not want to do something.
Yeah.
So anybody out there who feels like they constantly need to provide a reason for saying no, just practice, give yourself a challenge, like 7 days of like anytime somebody asks you to do something, just say no. And like, that's it. Because you don't owe anybody anything. Yeah. Well, this has been so enlightening, I think, Calli. We really covered a lot of different aspects of everything.
We did. It was fun.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I need you to like tone down the enthusiasm of that specific statement.
It was fun.
That was crazy. But I think this is like, it's a little bit of a different topic than like I've covered in other interviews, you know, because like the typical like new business owner, everybody wants to know like, how do I get more patients? How do I, you know, market myself? How, like all the things, all the hustle stuff. Yeah. And at the same time, it's like, that's all well and good, but you need to think about the long term because ideally, like most of us want to do this for like a few years at least, probably. Yeah. You need to be able to sustain everything. You know, I think like, especially too, if you want to stay small, you know, and maybe it's like you and another person, you have to make room for being able to like invest your time and your energy into yourself. Probably number one, we probably went through these things backwards. You know, investing in yourself first, investing in relationships second, and investing money in things that are going to save you time or provide the support you feel like you need. And like those are all things that I think will lead you to the success that you really want in your business.
And I feel like starting that like foundation really early helps you just like to maintain it before things get crazy. You know what I mean? Like having the foundation of investing time and energy to yourself first and always, instead of trying to hustle your way into being successful and then all of a sudden you're burnt out and don't realize how to take time for yourself.
Yeah. So. Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody is listening to this too, and you feel like you're reaching kind of a burnout point, but you work for yourself, it might be a good idea to take even like a week off. Don't go anywhere. The travel for some reason throws me completely off, but like take a week off and kind of figure out what you can do differently, so that you are able to operate at a capacity that doesn't feel like firing on all cylinders constantly. Because you can only do that for so long.
Yep.
So, well, great. Thank you so much, Calli. Is there anything else that you can think of, any other sage words of wisdom that you can offer to all of our listeners here, about just all this stuff? Any other last words or take?
I would just say be nice to yourself, be easy on yourself, and just do what makes you happy, and don't worry about what makes other people happy. In the end, it's your business and your career. So if it's not making you happy, then but just investing time and energy to yourself in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't think I don't even know what episode number this is, but in all the like dozens of episodes we've done, I don't think anybody has ever said be nice to yourself.
Be kind. That's why I wear my shirt.
Oh, that's so good. Like, that really is important. Oh my God.
I was so hard on myself. Like when I was 2 months in, I was like, I don't have any patience. What am I doing wrong? But it's just, I don't know. I have a full caseload now, more than a full caseload.
Calli has a wait list.
I have a wait list.
And she's hiring.
Yeah, shut up.
So particularly for that, but also, if anybody wants to kind of like check out what you're doing, where can people find you?
My website is confidentkidstherapy.com, and then my Instagram is @confidentkidstherapy. And then it's all very much the same. My email is Calli@confident.
Wow, look at that pattern. Well, great. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for your time, Calli.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounded more enthused than
I know. I did it with a smile this time.
Oh my gosh. This was great. So much good advice. And, thank you everybody who was able to make it here live for this interview. Anybody catching on the replay, the podcast, YouTube, thank you so much for being here. We believe in you. Keep being kind to yourself. Take a leap of faith. Just do it. You'll either do it or you'll learn something, and it'll be fine.
It'll all be fine.
And like my sister always tells me too, you can't spend your money when you're dead. So just think about that's real smart. So just anyways, so I never know how to open these. I don't know how to end them, but this is the end of this episode. Oh,
how you do it.
God. Thank you so much, everybody. That's a wrap. And we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.